What is up, everybody? Grant Wise here. Welcome to the Marketing Genius Podcast. I'm so excited today to be joined by the wonderful Mrs. Samantha Debianchi. Hopefully I said that right. And she's just a rock star in Fort Lauderdale who has agreed to stop by and just share some valuable nuggets for how you guys can grow your real estate business, how she's kind of achieved some of her great levels of success. Sam, thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, give us the scoop. Who are you and how did you get to where you are today?
So, yes, you pronounced my last name correctly, Sam Debianchi.
There we go.
I've been in business for about 10 years now, which I feel like I've been in it for much longer. As we all know, being in real estate, it definitely can age you quite a bit. And I have grown myself all on my own. I've grown myself to be a brand. I started, initially working for some larger brokerages that I kind of bounced around, and finally about a year later, a year and a half or so, I kind of broke off and started my own, and here we are, and I have not turned back since. And then, of course, from the branding side of it, I speak on Fox News, CNBC, every different news outlet. I've been quoted in pretty much any and every news and media outlets. And I was also the first female on $1 Million Listing in that series.
That is awesome. $1 Million Listing Miami, right?
Yes, $1 Million Listing Miami. We had one fantastic season and that was it. But, that goes back to the power of branding. I mean, that season, it aired in late 2013 through 2014, and I still get business from it here in 2019. So it's the power of not just television, but the power of visibility.
Yeah, which is something every agent needs, visibility, yes. Right? Yes. They need attention. I had a great client come in with a quote, said, "He or she who owns the mind share owns the market share." Yes. And I thought that was such a great way to articulate what it is that we need in the real estate industry, in any business for that matter, to really kind of get to that next level. So, let's break this down a little bit. How did you build such a prolific brand?
So before real estate, I used to actually be in the nightclub business. I used to manage nightclubs, and everyone always will say, "Oh, that must have been so much fun." And it's nonstop and it's party, party, party. But in reality, it is not that at all. And one thing that you learn is the understanding of people, how and why they spend, and the psychology behind it, and how people are different during the day than they are at night, and how people are different when, you put alcohol into play, and how they want to show off. And if you can get people to spend, in Miami, $500 on a bottle of Grey Goose that you can get at the store for $35, you know how to pretty much sell anything at that point. And it's all about how it's presented, and it's all about you as a person and trusting you and being a good salesperson. So I actually left that business when I was 25, and I transitioned into real estate, or I guess I attempted to, because I got my license after trying to pass it 4 times. So for those out there that think it's so easy, or my friends that don't know that it took me 4 times will say, "Oh, I heard any moron can pass it." And I'm like, well, it took me 4 times. So then it gets a little awkward. But, it's just keep on trucking and don't be embarrassed about how many times, just get it done. But yeah, I transitioned. I thought it was a great time to get in real estate in 2009, which, was kind of funny because I knew nothing, clearly. And I went at it for a few months, and I quit real estate after that because I wasn't getting anywhere, and I didn't understand why none of my friends and just randoms didn't want to work with me, being that I had 0 experience. And went back into nightlife for a little bit, and then finally got the best advice from my sister, which was, stop complaining, stop thinking of excuses, just quit everything and focus on real estate, focus on growing your brand and things that you could do to get yourself out there, and the business will come. Because when you're smart, you know what you're talking about, you're trustworthy, and you're a good person, the business comes every time. So that is the short version.
That's the short version. There we go. That is an interesting transition, going from the nightlife over to real estate. I do agree wholeheartedly that there are so many kind of laws there that exist. I think that's something that some people may or may not pay attention to is that, there are core foundational principles that exist in business and marketing and sales. It doesn't matter if you sell pizzas or you sell houses or you sell bottles of Grey Goose, like all those laws kind of remain the same. But what was it? I mean, was it just being, an authority figure or talking like you knew what you're talking about? Like, was it just that and doing it repetitively? How did you get this attention? Where were people listening to you?
So I went back to basics, which I keynote all over the world, and it's something that I always teach. It doesn't matter how much of a following you have or how big you are. When things are slower, you always, or at least I always go back to basics, which is, what am I good at and how will people listen to me? So yeah, in the beginning, as we all know, we get our real estate license and we have no clients, or maybe we have some people on the fence, but why would they work with you when there's other people out there, especially in Florida? We have, I believe, the most amount of people with a real estate license, and they could choose them over me. So I went back to, okay, I'm really smart. I'm always reading. I'm very knowledgeable about just what is going on in my area. So I was constantly reading about real estate, whether it was nationally, globally, locally, and I knew what was going on. I also knew my inventory because I was going to these open houses, I was going to Brokers Open, and I was just getting myself out there in the event that I would ever run into anyone. And they asked about, how's the market going? What are mortgage rates? Like simple things that a lot of real estate agents can't answer, which is insane to me. And I kind of built my foundation from there. And then I was always very good at writing. So I decided to blog, and I would just blog about anything and everything that I enjoyed, because again, you want to work with people you like and that are like-minded. So for me, I talked about everything from the nerdy, what to expect when inspecting, to home decor and design trends. And I kept kind of putting it out there. I had a website, I put it out there. And on social media back in that day, when I got started with Facebook, nobody was promoting themselves from a business standpoint. And I really put myself out there, and I talked about, rates went down or whatever happens that day or that week. And I posted 3 times a day, just different things, all real estate focused. And, that was the best example that it's not about the likes, it's not about the comments and all this, engagement that you hear about. You just got to keep with consistency. And that is the main thing. Be consistent. And I would say about 3 or 4 months later, and I kept doing this, and it's like, is anyone really reading my blogs? Is anyone reading my posts? I finally started to go out to different events, because again, you have to get away from your computer or your phone or whatever it is, your technology, and you have to go back to basics, which is the good old handshake and meeting people and talking to people, because people want to work with people. They don't want to work with your social media, message or whatever you're putting out there. And lo and behold, because I was just putting all this information out there and acting like the authority, people thought I was doing so much better than how I really was. I mean, they were like, Sam, you're doing so well in real estate. We're so proud of you. You haven't been in it that long. And here I was, like, I was living at home because I couldn't afford to live out on my own. And like, people thought I was successful. And slowly but surely, people would say, can I work with you to buy or sell? And it all just grew very, very organically. It's the good, when people say plant the seeds and the trees grow, it is so very true.
So your like grassroots, organic, do the work approach seems to be vastly different than I think most agents right now that are flocking to Facebook. Yep. From an advertising standpoint. Like, I'm just going to go buy my attention instead of earn my attention. What do you say to people like that?
So I have a really good story. I have a lot of stories, but one very good one pertaining to that, which is, so in 2012 was kind of my year that I really kind of grew everything. And I hired a publicist because I thought, like, a publicist could help me take it to the next level and grow a brand. Because again, I believe a brand is the way to go. It maintains longevity in any business. And, I was so excited to go to this meeting with this publicist, and I'm like, okay, I want to have my own column in the local newspaper. they don't have a real estate column. I think it'd be a great idea. And I gave her a bunch of different ideas. One of them was a reality show. Another one was me, being on television as a real estate expert, all of these things. And, to the real estate, she was like, they don't do that. But, there's a magazine where you can pay them $500 or $600 a month. And then you also write an article of 500 words, and then you're published in that magazine. And I was just thinking, okay, so I'm paying you thousands of dollars to tell me to pay a magazine another $500, $600. And then it's my time of writing an article. So I'm giving them content. Like, this makes zero sense. So eventually I stopped working with that publicist because obviously we didn't see eye to eye. And I looked at the newspaper. I found the editor because it's all out there. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, you don't have a real estate column. I think it'd be a great idea. And he said, you know what, it is a great idea, but we have hundreds of real estate agents that advertise with us. And we need to ask them first because you don't advertise with us. And he went through all of them. It took him about a week. He called me back and he was like, you got to call him. And I was so confused because I thought for sure, out of all of the hundreds of agents would say, yeah, hell yeah, I want a half a page. I want the column, whatever it is. And none of them, nobody wanted to do the work. And 500 words, for me, I'm a great writer. So it takes me about 30 minutes or so to get, bang out 500 words. But that is the greatest example that people would rather pay money than just do the work, which is nuts. So I had, for the longest time, a half a page. It made me an authority again, because it's like my opinion, my take on things, my tips. And I had my headshot there. I had my contact information there. And yeah, I didn't have to pay anything. I didn't get paid, but I didn't have to pay anything. I just had to do the work.
There are so many people, I love what you said there. There's so many people that say, you've got to create leverage. You got to create leverage. You got to create leverage. I think everybody's godfather in the real estate industry, Gary Keller, is always talking about you need leverage, leverage, leverage. How do you feel your kind of mindset around this creates that leverage for you, or do you care about that? I mean, building a brand takes time, it takes work, it takes energy, it takes focus, it takes a lot of those things, it takes a lot of intention. I feel like I can see how that does create leverage, but I want to hear from you. Like, is this something you care about? Do you have leverage in your business, so on and so forth?
So leverage as far as what exactly?
Leverage as far as your time. I mean, the real estate agents, I think most real estate agents that I speak to, they want to be real estate agents, but they have to be really good marketers. They have to be really good salespeople. They have to have a good, well-known brand before they actually get to be that person. So right. You see so many people like, we'll just go buy leads because that creates leverage. You don't have to go chase those down. Now you have opportunity. Like there's a leverage point there. So
yeah. So see, I'm a bit of the opposite. I think that you can either be transactional, which is what you're saying a lot of these people do, is they're always looking for the next lead and the next sale. For me, that just makes zero sense because, when the market goes down, if you don't have a solid brand, if you haven't really built yourself as, people, when they think real estate, they should immediately think of you. It shouldn't just be on a Zillow ad or whatever ad they see out there. They should just immediately know you are real estate. And that is where I spend all my time. I don't have any lead gen. I don't do Zillow lead. I don't do any of that. It is solely just me, my brain, putting my, blogs out, posts out, videos, going to, again, good old fashioned getting out there. I do sponsor, certain charities that are kind of closer to home and doing it that way, and joining different groups that I feel, again, like-minded people. But I definitely think for longevity, you have to build that brand, because for me, it's not just, well, the lead is for the luxury buyer or seller, or, the 200,000 to 300,000 buyer or seller, first time, whatever it is. For me, people know when they come to me, we can sit down and we can go over what are your real estate needs. I have millionaire, billionaire clients who, yeah, they'll buy their luxury property with me, but then they also know that we could sit down and figure out how to put together a real estate portfolio so that they have, they make a lot of money with all of their smaller investments. And it's not, I hate the whole one-stop shop, but I look at it like my real estate advisor. And when you kind of sit down with them and you think about how to diversify your money, it's the same thing. People meet with me to talk about, the full everything that they have and how I can help them leverage that.
So what you're saying is like focus on the brand and the business will follow. Like
Right.
Stop paying attention to the need or the craving for immediate gratification. You got so many people in this business that like they need a paycheck. So like that's their focus is the transactional aspects, which I don't agree with in any way, shape or form.
Right.
I think, and this is a very opinionated thing. I think new agents coming into the business shouldn't be allowed to sell real estate on their own unless they can prove a certain like time framed financial stability. Like I don't think you should be able to practice real estate unless you have 6 months cash in the bank or like you're financially stable, because if you're selling real estate from a place of scarcity, I personally believe you're selling people into situations based on your situation. And that is a terrible, terrible recipe when you are helping people handle the largest investment decision they will ever make in their entire life. It shouldn't be driven by your need to make money. But that's an opinionated question. I'll ask you.
I couldn't agree more. I'm the same exact way. So I started a vlog and I talk about how, I make plenty of money on my commissions and my glamorous side of real estate. But the reality is I own 8 homes right now. I Airbnb them all and I make a lot of money from them. And I show people in the vlog more of the nitty gritty, less glamorous side of me, cleaning the pool and dealing with guests and, where I'm putting that money, because if the market goes down, I'm still good. I don't have to go suddenly I'm in insurance or something else and not in real estate. Like I'm in real estate because I'm damn good at what I do. And I know this business inside and out. And I agree with you. I think that, realtors, maybe if they, it's hard to say, it's hard to kind of put out there, like you should only be a realtor if you've actually owned a home or bought or sold yourself. But to a certain extent, I do believe that, because you need to know the ins and the outs, and you only know that when you've done that already. And for me, I lost track on, I'm very unemotional with real estate. So I've lost track on what house I'm at number wise, but I'm always selling and making money from all of them. And I believe that real estate is the way to build wealth. And I know that people know, aside from just, I can go sell a pretty listing, but they don't just work with me because of that. They work with me because they know I know what I'm doing, because I do it myself for myself. So
I love it. I love it. So how does somebody like Fox News ring up the phone and say, Sam, we want to have a conversation with you? Like, what was that experience like? Or it sounds like that continuously happens, but like, what is that like?
A lot. So 2012 was actually prior to that. Okay. So back to nightlife. I met a lot of people, and something my parents always told me is always, have people, if you are likable and trustworthy, business will come. And, again, when you transition into a whole new industry, you're kind of going back to, who do I know? Who can I reach out to? Who can I let know that I'm in real estate? And I went to breakfast, lunch, and dinner with so many damn people. I must have gained, I don't even know how much weight at that point, but it was just meeting people and, putting myself out there. And this one person, he was on, again, it's not just Fox, it's everywhere, every news outlet. And he was like, Sam, if you ever want to get on, I have my MBA, I'm educated. And I'm good on, I guess I didn't know back then I was good at television, but, I had a certain presence and I was confident. And he's like, anytime you want to go on, just let me know. And I was just scared out of my mind. And he said, I can send you to a media trainer and do that. And finally I did get media trained, because that was the only way that I knew that I would actually ever get booked. And it was probably the best training of my entire life. I spent a ton of money, but this trainer was, he's awesome. And he showed me videos of these massive CEOs he worked with and how nervous they were, like sweating and shaking on national television. And he's like, see, I trained them after that, and now you'll see the before and after. And it made me feel good, because it's like little old me, also going to be on live television. So I got the training done, and then probably about a few weeks later, I got a call from the person that my friend knew who was a booker. And she was like, Sam, you can get on 30 minutes. The real estate person like had to cancel. And I was so nervous. I told her, I'm like, I got to call you back. I don't know if I can do this. And, it was like two people one person on each shoulder. It was like, do it, Sam. And the other one's like, no, this is going to be so scary. And fortunately I did it. I did a really good job. I was so nervous, but fortunately it didn't show on television. And they asked me back on. The producers called me afterward and, hey, you did a great job. Can you come on next week? And then from there, different producers see you on that show and call you for their show, and then different networks. And it just kind of went from there. So it's awesome. But that's a great example of, I can be on a ton of shows, but unless you then take that segment that's 3 to 4 minutes long and you take that, you post it everywhere, you put it in an e-blast, you promote, spend some money to really get it out there, nobody's going to know because it's live television. So what are the odds that, these people are watching that show that day, that time, that minute, and see you? So you just can't think, oh, I spent the money for the lead, or I wrote a blog. Why is nobody calling me? Like there's so much work to get through all of the little details to get yourself out there and essentially grow your brand.
Is that what led to getting you onto the $1 Million Listing Show, or was that just other connections and networking?
No. So that was, again, I've got like a lot of stories. I mean, we could be here for hours. But so back in 2008, I saw $1 million listing, and I remember telling my friend, if I ever get my real estate license, I'm going to get on the show because this is ridiculous, this show. It's nuts. I saw the LA version with Chad Rogers, and I knew someone that was kind of like, again, in the beginning where reality television was, I guess, pretty big, but still new. And I knew someone who was on Big Brother, and I asked him, he was like, oh, Chad Rogers, like, I know his talent agent. So this must have been maybe late 2011, early 2012. I reached out to the talent agent. I'm so excited because at that point I was on Fox. And I said, hey, is $1 Million Listing ever coming here? And if so, like, I really want to be on. And he was like, no, it's never coming to Miami. But even if it was, you don't have the listings, you don't have the sales, and they really prefer 3 guys. And I was just like, all right. And then a few months later, I saw it all over social media. You could tell that it was, the producers of a hit reality show. And you could tell that it was $1 Million Listing. So again, I kind of looked through my contact list of who do I know. And I knew someone that might know the casting company. And I reached out to him and I got the same response of, Sam, yes, it is going, they're looking into Miami, but really you don't have the sales. You don't have this, you don't have that. And so again, just like the publicist story, I took it upon myself to put together a PowerPoint presentation as to why I should be on the show. And, maybe, I didn't have the sales, but I lived a really glamorous life. At that point, I went like cage diving with great whites in Africa. I went on a safari and I showcased all of the cool things that I do, mixed with some sales. And I also said, you need a female. I'm clearly the most masculine you're ever going to find, including all of the guys on this franchise. So let's do it. Not to mention, I have more, PR and branding than any agents. I can confidently say any agent in the country, any agent in the world. There's nobody that's been on television more than I have and quoted in different news outlets. So there's got to be something good about me. And they saw my PowerPoint. They thought it was hysterical. And here we are.
That's awesome.
Now I can confidently say I was part of a very a failing show, a failing reality show.
How have all of these things like helped your business? I mean, at the end of the day, we always pull like having a big brand back to, that's great. How has this helped your company? I mean, having a brand is powerful. And as you've kind of talked about it, it's been power throughout your career. It's got you on Fox News. It's landed the $1 Million Listing thing. How has this helped your real estate career? Because I know a lot of people listening to this are like, well, this is all really cool stuff, but how does this help me sell more houses?
Yeah, it's the same exact thing when people buy bus benches, or people buy newspaper ads, it's the same, or an internet ad, whatever it is, it's the same thing. It's visibility. And when people consistently see you over and over and over, it's like, why am I seeing this person so many damn times? Like, so it's the exact same thing. It's just, for me, I am lucky enough and fortunate enough that I've gotten it to a television level, but that doesn't mean if you're not on television, you're not going to have, massive amounts of business.
Yeah.
Just visibility and repetition. You can do the exact same thing by putting together your own video and then pushing that video out, depending on how you tag people or, what avenues you put it out. It's the same thing. It really can be an even playing field.
Sorry to the podcast listeners. My son decided he wanted to jump in and join, so somebody was grabbing him before he came in here and started yelling at the top of his lungs. I couldn't agree more. And we always talk about this. If you guys listen to this podcast, you know me. I'm always talking about buyer and seller psychology, that, you're not always going to put yourself out there at a time where people are going to be paying attention because they have no desire, they have no need for the real estate process. But when people go through those life events, something happens: get married, get a job, get a pay increase, get a promotion, lose their job, get a divorce. These types of events in life create desire or need for the real estate process in some capacity. And when that happens, having a powerful brand will help you rise to the top in a big, 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 big way. And it can be something that props you up into a multi-million-dollar business. It can be something, in Sam's case, where real estate served as an engine for building wealth, which I hope is doing for a lot of you. It can really propel you in a lot of different ways. Having a brand, a big brand especially, is absolutely going to help you. Whether you spend time to build that or you invest money to build that, I think it's really important for you to be looking at what really story it is that you're telling to the marketplace that's going to allow them to build a relationship with you. I think it's really important. Having a powerful brand is so important. If you're generating leads, but you have no way to build a relationship with those leads, i.e., you don't have a brand presence, you're doing yourself a massive, massive disservice. We hear so many people now talking about, well, I'm getting like 8,000 leads a month or whatever, and I'm not doing any business. What's wrong? You're not telling your story in the marketplace. Nobody has an ability today, especially when people don't want to talk to you. They want to research you. You've got nothing that's out there in the market that's allowing people to build that relationship with you.
Right. And I think, like I said before, in another, great story about how it's not about television and stardom and stuff like that. I mean, I got one of my listings years ago when I first got bus benches, and it's like, oh, you're on television. Why do you need bus benches? Well, one of the first calls I got, it was a listing for a little over $1 million. And she was like, Sam, honestly, I remember you from the show, but I didn't realize, that you were here until I saw that bus bench. And that's why I called you. And it's like, again, it's just straight visibility, and just your face should be everywhere. And that's the other thing too. So many agents, they'll just put their name and their info, and they don't put their face. And yes, it maybe is a little bit egotistical, but not really. You want people to go out there and see your face and be like, what, that's the realtor. And that Absolutely. Is the name of the game. So if you don't have your face out there, I mean, that you're wasting time. I mean, there's so many names, everyone could be John or Mike or Sam, right. Lauren, whatever it is, but you've got your own face. So
I was talking to Chris Smith. He's one of the co-founders of Curator. It's a really cool platform in real estate. You may know him. He's like, I'm the most boring name on planet Earth, Chris Smith. So I got to really ramp up my branding to make sure people can find me and know who I am and where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
But guys, what she's talking about is omnipresence. You may or may not be a student of Tony Robbins and other people, but psychologically, there's this thing called reticular activation. Our brain doesn't let us see things until we know or think that we need those things. And it goes back to what I was talking about a second ago. People aren't always going to know that they need you, but when they do, they should see you everywhere. And it's exactly what Sam's describing. So hopefully if you guys listen to this podcast, you take her advice. Hopefully you're able to pull out some good stuff. I got a page full of notes here, so hopefully you guys do too. I don't know who learns more in these podcasts. I learn a ton in every episode that I do. I'm always studying. I took a bunch of really good notes, and I actually have a question I ask you post-interview, so I'm going to get some private education maybe. But thank you so much for stopping by the show. If somebody wanted to connect with you or reach out or follow you, like what's the best way for somebody to do that?
Yes. You can message me on Instagram, Facebook. It's all at Sam Debianchi.
Right.
There's only one Sam Debianchi.
Yeah, you should be able to find it. But we're gonna link her social profiles up in the show notes. That way you guys could connect with her. Sam, what's like one big piece of advice that you'd give a real estate agent that's out there, maybe a newer agent, somebody that's coming up, somebody's trying to build a brand? What would you say to them?
Consistency and persistency, which is also a word. People like it's not a word. It is a word. You can Google it.
Google it.
Being consistent, persistent, never thinking that you're too good or not good enough for something. I mean, to this day, I'm doing the showings, the nitty gritty stuff. It doesn't matter how much you've sold. We all are in this together. So
that's a great piece of advice. Table the ego and do what's necessary. Don't put your life in a box and think you got it all figured out, because that's a dangerous combination. Sam, thank you so much again. Guys, thank you for tuning into the show. I appreciate you all so much. Make sure that you rate us on iTunes, Google Play. Keep listening to us on the website. Appreciate you guys continually tuning in to the Marketing Genius podcast. I will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.